Emily Thompson had always been drawn to the wild, untamed expanses of nature, where the air was crisp and the only sounds were the rustle of leaves and the distant call of eagles soaring overhead. Born and raised in the bustling suburbs of Denver, Colorado, she found solace in the mountains that loomed like silent guardians on the horizon. At 28 years old, she was a software engineer by trade, spending her days hunched over a keyboard in a sterile office, debugging code, and attending endless meetings. But her true passion lay in through hiking, those long, grueling treks that tested the limits of body and spirit. She had completed the Appalachian Trail 2 years prior, a 2,190-mile journey that left her with blistered feet, a sun-kissed tan, and an unquenchable thirst for more. Now, she set her sights on the Colorado Trail, a 486-mile path stretching from Denver to Durango, weaving through alpine meadows, dense forests, and rugged peaks. It was a solo endeavor this time, a deliberate choice to disconnect from the world and reconnect with herself. Emily's friends and family worried, of course. "It's dangerous out there alone," her mother had pleaded over the phone, her voice laced with concern. "What if something happens? No one will know." But Emily brushed it off with a laugh, assuring them she was prepared. She had packed her backpack meticulously, a lightweight tent, a sleeping bag rated for sub-zero temperatures, energy bars, a water filter, a satellite communicator for emergencies, and her trusty camera with extra SD cards to capture the beauty along the way. She even hid one SD card in the insole of her hiking boot, a quirky habit born from paranoia about losing precious memories. "Better safe than sorry," she muttered to herself as she laced up her shoes on the morning of her departure. The trailhead at Waterton Canyon was alive with the promise of adventure as Emily stepped out of her beat-up Jeep, the sun just cresting over the foothills. It was early June 2018, and the wildflowers were in full bloom, painting the landscape in vibrant hues of purple lupins and yellow columbines. She adjusted her pack, feeling the familiar weight settle on her shoulders, and took a deep breath. The first segment was relatively easy, a gentle ascent along a dirt road flanked by cottonwood trees and the South Platte River rushing below. As she walked, her mind wandered to the reasons she was doing this. Work had been suffocating lately. A recent breakup with her boyfriend of 3 years had left her questioning everything. "I need this," she thought, "to clear my head, to find my path again." By midday, she had covered 10 miles, stopping at a scenic overlook to snap photos of the canyon walls rising dramatically around her. The camera clicked away, capturing the play of light on the rocks, the occasional deer grazing in the distance. She transferred the images to an SD card, tucking it securely into her pocket before continuing. The trail grew steeper as she entered the Buffalo Creek area, where ponderosa pines towered overhead, their bark smelling of vanilla in the warm air. Emily encountered a few day hikers, exchanging pleasantries and trail tips, but as the day wore on, the crowds thinned, leaving her in blissful solitude. Night fell quickly in the mountains, and Emily pitched her tent near a babbling brook, the sound lulling her into a peaceful sleep after a dinner of rehydrated pasta. The next morning, she awoke to frost on the ground, a reminder that even in summer, the Rockies could be unforgiving. She broke camp efficiently, her routine honed from previous hikes, and pushed onward toward segment 2. The terrain became more challenging, with rocky switchbacks that strained her calves and tested her balance. She paused frequently to hydrate and admire the views, vast valleys stretching out like green carpets, dotted with aspen groves that would turn golden in the fall. Emily's journal, tucked in her pack, became her confidant. Day 2, feeling strong. The silence is golden. No emails, no notifications, just me and the trail, she scrawled during a lunch break. As she progressed, she began noticing subtle changes in the environment. The air growing thinner, the wildlife more elusive. A marmot scampered across her path, its whistle echoing off the cliffs. She laughed, pulling out her camera to document the moment. Click, click, the SD card filling with evidence of her journey. By evening, she had reached the Lost Creek Wilderness, a remote area known for its granite formations and pristine streams. Setting up camp under a canopy of stars, Emily felt a profound sense of freedom. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a story that would unfold in ways she could never imagine. Days blurred into one another as Emily delved deeper into the heart of Colorado. Segment 3 brought her into the high country, where elevations soared above 10,000 feet and the risk of altitude sickness loomed. She monitored her symptoms carefully: headaches, nausea, but pushed through with determination. The trail meandered through subalpine forests, where lodgepole pines stood sentinel, their trunks scarred by past wildfires. Emily marveled at the resilience of nature, how life sprouted from charred earth. She met a fellow thru-hiker, an older man named Tom, who shared his fire and stories of trails conquered. "Watch out for bears in these parts," he warned, his eyes twinkling. "And thunderstorms, they come out of nowhere." Emily nodded, grateful for the advice, and they parted ways at dawn. Alone again, she climbed toward Kenosha Pass, the wind whipping her ponytail as she crested the ridge. The panorama was breathtaking, the South Park Basin sprawling below, a sea of grasslands ringed by snow-capped peaks. She spent hours photographing the scene, experimenting with angles and lighting, her passion for photography rivaling her love for hiking. The SD card in her camera was nearly full, so she swapped it out, hiding the used one in her shoe alongside the spare. "My secret vault," she joked to herself. As the weeks progressed, Emily's body adapted to the rigors of the trail. Blisters formed and healed, muscles strengthened, and her mind sharpened with clarity. She traversed the Georgia Pass, where wild elk herds roamed, their bugles piercing the twilight. The Continental Divide Trail overlapped here, adding a layer of excitement, knowing she was on a path that spanned the continent. Weather became her constant companion, unpredictable and fierce. One afternoon, dark clouds gathered, and thunder rumbled like distant artillery. Emily sought shelter under a rocky outcrop, watching lightning dance across the sky. "Nature's fireworks," she whispered, capturing the storm on video with her camera. The rain pelted down, turning the trail to mud, but she pressed on once it cleared, her boots squelching with each step. In segment 6, near Breckenridge, she resupplied at a trail town, indulging in a hot shower and a burger at a local diner. Locals shared tales of missing hikers, ghostly legends of the mountains, but Emily dismissed them as folklore. "I'm careful," she assured a concerned waitress. Back on the trail, she entered the 10-mile range, where jagged peaks challenged her endurance. Switchback after switchback, she climbed, her breath coming in gasps. At the summit, the world fell away, and she felt invincible. Photos poured into her SD card, sunsets painting the sky in oranges and pinks, alpine lakes mirroring the heavens. Emily's journey took a more introspective turn as she entered the Holy Cross Wilderness. The trails were narrower here, less traveled, with dense underbrush and steep descents. She reflected on her life back home. The failed relationship, the job that drained her soul. "This is where I belong," she decided, vowing to make changes upon return. Wildlife encounters increased. A black bear lumbered across her path one morning, sending her heart racing. She backed away slowly, as trained, and it wandered off uninterested. The incident made her more vigilant, but also more alive. She documented everything. The bear's glossy fur, the fear in her eyes reflected in a selfie. The SD card hidden in her shoe now held backups of her most treasured shots, a safeguard against loss. As she approached Mount Elbert, Colorado's highest peak, the challenge intensified. The side trail to the summit was optional, but Emily couldn't resist. The ascent was brutal, oxygen thin, but the view from 14,440 feet was worth it, 360 degrees of majesty. She lingered, writing in her journal about personal growth, about shedding the old Emily like a snake's skin. Deeper into the trail, the solitude began to weigh on her. In the Maroon Bell Snowmass Wilderness, the scenery was postcard perfect, crimson peaks reflected in crystalline lakes, wild goats clambering on cliffs. But the isolation amplified every sound, the crack of a branch, the howl of wind. Emily started talking to herself, narrating her days as if filming a documentary. Day 25, conquered another pass. Feeling the burn, but loving it. Her camera rolled, capturing monologues and landscapes alike. She swapped SD cards again, the hidden one in her shoe growing in importance, a time capsule of her adventure. Storms became more frequent, forcing detours and delays. One night, camped near a meadow, she awoke to footsteps outside her tent. Heart pounding, she gripped her bear spray, but it was just a deer. The incident shook her, reminding her of vulnerability. Yet, she persisted, crossing into the La Guarida Wilderness, where vast calderas hinted at ancient volcanic fury. The trail undulated through rolling hills and dense spruce forests, the air scented with pine. As Emily neared the halfway point, a sense of accomplishment swelled. She had covered over 200 miles, her body lean and toughened. In Crete, a quaint mining town, she resupplied and called home. "I'm fine, Mom." "Better than fine," she said, her voice steady. Back on the trail, segment 14 brought high plateaus and expansive views. She photographed wild horses grazing, their manes flowing in the breeze. The SD card collection grew, each one a chapter in her story. But subtle signs of fatigue emerged, aching joints, fleeting doubts. "Push through," she told herself. The San Juan Mountains loomed ahead, promising the most rugged terrain yet. Emily felt ready, her spirit forged in the fires of the trail. The journey continued with relentless beauty and challenge. In the Weminish Wilderness, the largest in Colorado, Emily navigated narrow ledges and river crossings. The Needle Mountains rose like spires, demanding respect. She forded the Onimus River, water rushing to her waist, and climbed toward Chicago Basin, home to 4 14ers. Camping amid the peaks, she felt minuscule yet empowered. Stars blanketed the sky, and she captured time-lapse on her camera, the SD card whirring with data. Encounters with other hikers were rare now, adding to the mystique. One evening, she met a group of backpackers, sharing laughs around a campfire. They swapped stories of near misses and triumphs, bonding over shared passion. Parting at dawn, Emily felt renewed. As the miles accumulated, Emily's reflections deepened. She pondered life's fragility, the importance of pursuing dreams. The trail had stripped away pretenses, revealing her core strength. In segment 20, near Lake City, she faced a grueling ascent to Coney Summit, the highest point on the trail at 13,334 feet. Wind howled, but she summited, triumphant. Photos from the top showed her beaming, arms outstretched. The hidden SD card in her shoe held duplicates, her insurance policy. Descending, the landscape shifted to sagebrush and canyons, hinting at the end. But Durango was still distant, and the adventure far from over. Emily's pace steadied as she entered the final thirds. The Indian Ridge offered panoramic vistas, with the La Plata Mountains in view. She documented wildflowers, birds in flight, the changing seasons. Autumn hints appeared, leaves turning, cooler nights. Her journal filled with insights. The trail teaches patience, resilience. "I'm not the same person who started." A minor injury, a twisted ankle, slowed her, but she bandaged it and continued. In segment 24, the Hermosa Creek Wilderness provided shaded relief, streams teeming with trout. She fished for dinner, a rare treat, and photographed the catch. Nearing the end, anticipation built. The trail descended toward Junction Creek, the terminus in sight. Emily felt bittersweet, eager for completion, reluctant to leave the wild. She reviewed her photos, the SD cards a treasure trove. The one in her shoe, now containing key backups, felt like AT. The Colorado Trail stretched on, a ribbon of earth threading through the San Juan Mountains, as Emily Thompson pushed toward the final segments with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had been on the trail for nearly 2 months, her body now a lean machine sculpted by endless miles and her mind sharpened by solitude. The Weminish Wilderness had tested her with its rugged terrain, sharp switchbacks, icy streams, and sudden storms that turned the path to sludge. Yet, every challenge deepened her connection to the land. In segment 22, she traversed the high alpine tundra, where the air was thin and the views stretched to eternity. The Needle Mountains loomed like ancient sentinels, their jagged peaks piercing the sky. Emily paused often to photograph the scene, her camera clicking as she captured the interplay of light on granite and the fleeting dance of clouds. The SD card in her camera filled rapidly, and she swapped it out, tucking the used one into the hidden compartment of her hiking boot alongside its twin. "My little time capsules," she mused, patting her shoe. The habit, born of caution, had become a ritual, a way to safeguard the memories of a journey that was reshaping her soul. Her journal entries grew more introspective. Day 58. "The mountains don't care about my past or my fears. They just are. And I'm learning to just be, too." The trail was no longer just a physical challenge. It was a crucible for transformation. As she descended into the Onimus River Valley, the landscape softened slightly, with rolling meadows replacing the stark peaks. But the trail's demands remained relentless. A late-season snow dusted the high passes, forcing Emily to don extra layers and check her footing on slick rocks. She crossed paths with a lone backpacker, a wiry woman named Clara, who was heading northbound. They shared a meal of instant oatmeal by a campfire, trading stories under a sky ablaze with stars. Clara spoke of a strange encounter she'd had days earlier, a figure watching her from a ridge, vanishing when she called out. Probably just a hunter, Clara shrugged, but her eyes betrayed unease. Emily nodded, filing the story away, though it sent a shiver down her spine. Alone again, she pressed on towards Silverton, a historic mining town where she planned to resupply. The trail wound through dense spruce forests, the scent of pine resin thick in the air. She photographed a family of mule deer grazing in a clearing, their ears twitching at her approach. The SD card word, preserving the moment. At night, camped near a gurgling creek, she reviewed her photos, the glow of her camera screen a small comfort in the vast darkness. The isolation was profound now, amplifying every rustle and snap in the woods. She gripped her bear spray, reminding herself it was likely just a squirrel or the wind. Silverton was a brief reprieve, a chance to shower, eat a hot meal, and call her family. "I'm close to the end," she told her sister, her voice bright but tinged with fatigue. The diner's chatter buzzed around her, locals swapping tales of the trail, of hikers who'd vanished in years past. "The mountains take what they want," an old man at the counter muttered, his words lingering as Emily left. Back on the trail, segment 24 brought her into the Hermosa Creek wilderness, where the path meandered through shaded glens and along rushing streams. She fished for trout one evening, her line dancing in the current, and grilled her catch over a small fire. The simplicity of the moment, eating fresh fish under the stars, felt like a gift. Her camera captured it all, the golden light on the water, the smoke curling from her fire. She swapped SD cards again, the hidden one in her shoe now holding a curated collection of her journey's highlights. "If I lose everything else, these will survive," she thought, a flicker of pride in her foresight. But the trail's solitude began to play tricks on her mind. Shadows seemed to move in her peripheral vision, and once, she swore she heard footsteps pacing her own. She dismissed it as fatigue, but her grip on the bear spray tightened. The final segments loomed, with Junction Creek and the trail's end in Durango tantalizingly close. Emily's body ached, her knees protested every descent, and a nagging blister on her heels slowed her pace. Yet her spirit soared. She had conquered over 400 miles, each step a testament to her resilience. In segment 25, the trail dipped into lush valleys, where aspens shimmered in the autumn breeze, their leaves a mosaic of gold and red. She photographed obsessively, filling another SD card with images of the changing season. Her journal overflowed with reflections. "The trail has stripped me bare, but it's also built me back up. I'm stronger than I knew." One afternoon, a sudden storm forced her to hunker down under a tarp, the rain hammering like a drumbeat. Lightning cracked, illuminating the forest in stark flashes. She recorded a video, her voice steady despite the chaos. This is what it's about. Facing the wild and coming out alive. The storm passed, leaving a rainbow arcing over the valley. Emily snapped a photo, her heart swelling with awe. But the wilderness had its own agenda. As Emily entered segment 26, the trail grew eerily quiet, the usual bird calls replaced by an unsettling stillness. She noticed odd signs, broken branches in unnatural patterns, a faint trail paralleling her own, as if someone had been tracking her. Her instincts screamed caution, but she rationalized it away. "Just animals," she told herself, though her pulse quickened. One night, camped near a rocky outcrop, she awoke to a low hum, like a distant engine. It faded quickly, but sleep eluded her. She clutched her camera, reviewing footage to calm her nerves. The SD card in her shoe felt heavier now, a silent witness to her journey. The next day, she pushed hard, covering 15 miles through dense forest and open ridges. The La Plata Mountains framed the horizon, their peaks a beacon guiding her to Durango. She photographed a herd of bighorn sheep, their hooves clattering on the rocks, and scribbled in her journal. Day 67, almost there. The end feels real now. Years passed like whispers through the pines, and the mystery of Emily Thompson's disappearance became one of those haunting tales whispered around campfires in the Colorado backcountry. It was late August 2018 when her family first raised the alarm. Emily had promised to check in upon reaching Durango, but the call never came. Her sister, Sarah, waited a day, then two, before contacting authorities. "She's overdue," Sarah explained to the dispatcher, her voice cracking. "She's solo, hiking the Colorado Trail." Last contact was from Silverton. Search and rescue teams mobilized quickly, combing the final segments near Junction Creek. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their rotors chopping the air as ground crews fanned out with dogs and thermal imaging. The terrain was unforgiving. Dense forests, steep canyons, hidden ravines that could swallow a person whole. Volunteers joined the effort, posting flyers in trail towns and scouring social media for leads. "Have you seen this hiker?" The posters read, featuring Emily's smiling face from her trailhead selfie, her backpack slung confidently over one shoulder. The media picked up the story, headlines blaring, "Solo Thru-Hiker Vanishes in San Juans," across local news outlets. Speculation ran wild. Had she fallen into a crevasse, been attacked by wildlife, or simply gotten lost in the maze of side trails? Sarah appeared on TV, pleading for information, her eyes red-rimmed. "Emily's strong, resourceful. If she's out there, she'll fight to come back." The search dragged on for weeks, expanding to cover hundreds of square miles. Teams discovered faint clues, a discarded energy bar wrapper matching Emily's brand, a boot print in the mud near a creek, but nothing conclusive. One volunteer found a scrap of fabric snagged on a branch, but tests showed it wasn't from her gear. The weather turned against them, early snow blanketing the high country and forcing suspensions. "We can't risk our teams," the incident commander announced at a press conference, his face etched with regret. Emily's parents flew in from Denver, joining Sarah at a makeshift command center in Durango. They pored over maps, retracing her planned route, questioning every decision. "Why did she go alone?" her mother lamented, clutching a photo of Emily as a child, gap-toothed and grinning. Friends organized vigils, lighting candles in parks, and sharing stories of her adventurous spirit. Online forums buzzed with theories, some practical, like hypothermia or injury, others outlandish, involving UFOs or foul play. A psychic even contacted the family, claiming visions of Emily near a glowing light, but it led nowhere. As autumn deepened, the official search scaled back, transitioning to recovery mode. "We're not giving up," authorities assured, but the tone shifted from hope to somber acceptance. Winter buried the trails under feet of snow, and Emily's case grew cold. The family hired private investigators who interviewed fellow hikers like Clara and Tom, piecing together her last known sightings. Clara recounted the strange figure on the ridge, adding a layer of intrigue. "It felt off," she admitted. Investigators scoured Emily's digital footprint, her emails, social media, bank records, but found no red flags. Her Jeep remained at the Waterton Canyon trailhead, untouched, a silent sentinel. Sarah quit her job to focus on the search, creating a website dedicated to Emily. Photos, timelines, pleas for tips. Donations poured in, funding drone surveys and cadaver dogs in the spring thaw. But the mountains guarded their secrets. Hikers reported eerie experiences in the area, unexplained lights, whispers in the wind, but dismissed as folklore. The family endured holidays without her, birthdays marked by empty chairs. "It's like she's frozen in time," Sarah confided to a support group for missing persons families. Media interest waned, the story fading to occasional anniversary pieces. 1 year later, the vanishing of Emily Thompson. Time marched on, seasons cycling through their eternal dance. By 2020, the world grappled with a pandemic, sidelining volunteer efforts. Emily's parents aged visibly, her father suffering a heart attack from the stress. Sarah persisted, partnering with nonprofits like the Colorado Missing Persons Project. They organized annual searches, combing the canyons with metal detectors and ground-penetrating radar. One expedition uncovered an old backpack, but it belonged to another lost soul from decades prior. Theories evolved. Perhaps Emily had intentionally disappeared, seeking a new life. But those who knew her scoffed, she loved her family too much. Online sleuths dissected her trail journal excerpts shared by Sarah, noting her introspective entries. She was finding herself, one commenter posted. Maybe she found something else. The family faced cruel hoaxes, anonymous calls claiming sightings, leading to dead ends. Through it all, the SD card lay hidden, tucked in the insole of a weathered hiking boot, buried under leaves and debris in a forgotten ravine. Spring 2022 brought renewed hope with advanced technology. Drones equipped with AI scanned the wilderness, flagging anomalies. One pinged a suspicious shape near Junction Creek, a cluster of rocks that looked unnatural. Teams investigated, but it was just a fallen tree. Sarah's determination never faltered. She hiked sections of the trail herself, calling Emily's name into the void. I feel her here, she told a documentary crew filming a segment on unsolved disappearances. The film aired nationally, reigniting interest. Tips flooded in. A hiker recalled seeing a woman matching Emily's description years ago, but timelines didn't align. Investigators explored foul play angles, transient hunters, escaped convicts, but evidence was nil. The psychic's glowing light resurfaced in discussions, linking to local legends of mysterious phenomena in the San Juans. UFO enthusiasts latched on, citing similar vanishings. Sarah dismissed it, focusing on facts. We need closure, she said in interviews, her voice steady but weary. As 2023 dawned, the case hit a breakthrough, or so it seemed. A trail maintenance crew clearing debris after a landslide unearthed a tattered tent, its fabric matching Emily's description. Excitement surged. Forensics rushed in. But DNA tests revealed it belonged to another hiker, lost in the 90s. Disappointment crushed the family anew. Sarah channeled her grief into advocacy, lobbying for better satellite tech for hikers. If Emily had a better signal, maybe. She trailed off. Friends held memorials, planting trees in her name along the trail. The mystery lingered, a shadow over the Thompson family. Emily's room remained untouched, her hiking gear gathering dust. Her camera bag, left in the Jeep, held undeveloped SD cards from past trips, poignant reminders of her passion. Fast forward to summer 2025, 7 years after Emily's vanishing. The Colorado Trail bustled with hikers, oblivious to the ghosts of the past. A group of college students, on a geology field trip, ventured off-trail into a narrow canyon near Junction Creek. They were cataloging rock formations when one, Alex, spotted something unnatural, a hiking boot protruding from under a boulder, half buried in silt from recent floods. "Hey, look at this," Alex called, brushing away dirt. The boot was worn, its laces frayed, but intact. Inside, something felt off, a lump under the insole. Curiosity piqued. They pried it open, revealing a small SD card, sealed in a plastic bag for protection. "This could be important," their professor said, pocketing it carefully. They reported the find to rangers, who recognized the boot's brand from Emily's missing person file. Word spread quickly. Authorities notified the Thompsons. Sarah's phone rang on a rainy afternoon. "We've found something," the detective said. A boot with an SD card hidden inside. Her heart raced as she drove to the station, memories flooding back. Forensics confirmed the boot was Emily's. DNA from sweat traces matched. The SD card, remarkably preserved, held gigabytes of data. Photos, videos, journal-like entries from her final days. Technicians recovered the files, piecing together her story. Images showed stunning landscapes, Emily's smiling face, then darker turns, stormy skies, her lost expressions. Videos captured her voice. Day 70, off trail. Trying to find my way. The last entry, timestamped days after her expected arrival, showed a flickering light in the distance, her whisper. "What is that?" "It's coming closer." Then, static. The family gathered to view the contents, tears streaming. "She was so close," Sarah sobbed. The discovery reopened the case, sparking new searches focused on the canyon. Media frenzy ensued. Hidden SD card solves 7-year mystery? Headlines screamed. Experts analyzed the footage, the light anomalous, possibly a drone or lantern but unexplained. Theories exploded. Abduction, accident, or something supernatural. Sarah addressed the press. "This gives us answers, but not all. We need to find her." Volunteers swarmed the area, drones buzzing anew. The SD card's contents went viral. Emily's journey inspiring documentaries and books. Hikers left tributes at trailheads, her story a cautionary tale of the wild's dangers and beauty. Yet, closure remained elusive. The card hinted at foul play, the light, footsteps, but no body surfaced. The family found solace in her words, her images preserving her spirit. Emily's legacy endured, a reminder that even in vanishing, one could leave a lasting mark. Transforming Emily Thompson's cold case into a labyrinth of digital clues and renewed scrutiny. Authorities in Durango, Colorado, wasted no time in analyzing the card's contents, enlisting forensic experts from the FBI's Digital Evidence Lab in Quantico. The card, a standard 64 gigabytes model, was remarkably intact despite years of exposure to the elements, moisture, temperature fluctuations, and the relentless grind of nature. Technicians donned gloves in a sterile room, inserting the card into a write-protected reader to prevent any alteration. As files populated the screen, a timeline emerged, thousands of photos, hours of video footage, and audio notes spanning Emily's entire journey. The metadata revealed timestamps from June 2018 onward, with the last file dated September 15, 2018, over 2 weeks after she was expected in Durango. Sarah Thompson, Emily's sister, was the first family member to view select excerpts, her hands trembling as she watched the discovery of the SD card sent shockwaves through the investigative community. Her sister's face light up in early videos, only to see it grow gaunt and shadowed in the later ones. "It's like she's speaking to us from the past," Sarah whispered to the lead investigator, Detective Maria Lopez. The card wasn't just a collection of memories, it was a breadcrumb trail leading into the heart of the mystery. The initial batch of photos painted a vivid picture of Emily's thru-hike, corroborating much of what was already known from her journal excerpts and witness accounts. Images from the early segments showed her beaming at trailheads, wildflowers framing her path, and panoramic vistas of the Rocky Mountains. There were selfies with fellow hikers like Tom and Clara, their faces blurred slightly in the reprints for privacy. But as the files progressed chronologically, subtle shifts appeared. Around segment 25, photos captured unusual details, broken branches arranged in arrow shapes, as if marking a hidden path, distant figures on ridges that Emily had zoomed in on, their forms indistinct but humanoid. One series showed a campsite with gear slightly askew, as if rummaged through while she slept. Videos added depth, Emily's voice, cheerful at first, narrating the beauty. "Look at this sunset over the La Platasse, pure magic." But later clips revealed unease. "Heard footsteps again last night," she said in a hushed tone on day 65, her camera panning the dark forest. "Probably wildlife, but I'm keeping my spray close." Investigators noted the timestamps, cross-referencing with weather reports and satellite data to pinpoint locations. Deeper dives into the footage uncovered anomalies that fueled speculation. A recurring motif was the glowing light mentioned in Emily's final video. Frame-by-frame analysis revealed it wasn't a campfire or flashlight. Spectral imaging suggested an artificial source, possibly a drone or vehicle headlamp, pulsing irregularly. Audio enhancement picked up faint sounds in the background, mechanical hums, muffled voices that linguistics experts struggled to decipher. "It could be help or halt," one analyst reported, but distortion made it inconclusive. The SD card also held deleted files, recovered through data carving techniques. These included shaky videos of Emily fleeing something unseen, her breath ragged. "I think someone's following me." "Saw a shadow." Photos of makeshift signals, rocks piled in SOS patterns, cloth tied to trees, indicated her growing desperation. Forensics confirmed the card had been swapped multiple times, with Emily's habit of hiding backups in her shoe proving prescient. She was documenting for posterity, Detective Lopez noted in her report. As if she knew she might not make it. The revelations prompted a multi-agency task force, including the National Park Service, Forest Service, and local sheriffs. They zeroed in on the canyon where the boot was found, a rugged slot near Junction Creek known for flash floods and unstable terrain. Ground-penetrating radar scanned for anomalies, while cadaver dogs sniffed for human remains. Drones equipped with LiDAR mapped hidden crevices, revealing old mining shafts from the 1800s, potential hazards or hideouts. Sarah joined some searches, her presence a poignant reminder of the human cost. Emily's videos show she was alive for weeks after we thought, she told reporters camped outside the command center. Public interest exploded. True crime podcasts dissected the footage, with episodes titled The Hidden Card, Emily's Last Words. Social media sleuths pored over shared excerpts, enhancing images to identify the shadow figure. One viral thread claimed it matched a known poacher in the area, but authorities debunked it as pareidolia. As analysis continued, the SD card yielded interpersonal insights. Videos showed Emily reflecting on her life, confessing regrets about her breakup and career. "If I get out of this, I'm quitting my job and traveling full-time," she said in one clip, her eyes distant. Audio notes resembled a diary. Day 72, water low. Saw the light again closer. Feels like it's watching. Psychologists profiled her mindset, resilient but increasingly paranoid, possibly from dehydration or isolation. The task force explored foul play angles vigorously. Background checks on hikers she mentioned turned up nothing suspicious, but the glowing light linked to reports of illegal activities in the San Juans. Drug drops via drones, unauthorized mining. Could she have stumbled onto something? Lopez pondered in briefings. Undercover ops canvass trail towns, interviewing locals about unusual sightings in 2018. One bartender recalled a group of rough-looking men boasting about scaring off intruders in the wilderness, but alibis held. Technological wizardry unlocked more layers. AI algorithms scanned photos for facial recognition, flagging a blurred face in the background of one image, a man in camouflage, binoculars in hand. The image was too grainy for identification, but it sparked warrants for satellite imagery from that date. Commercial providers like Maxar supplied archived data, showing anomalous heat signatures near Emily's last known position, possibly campfires or vehicles. Geologists analyzed rock formations in her videos, narrowing the search radius to a 5-square-mile area. Divers explored nearby creeks, recovering a water bottle matching Emily's, with her DNA inside. "We're piecing it together," Lopez announced at a press conference, the SD card projected behind her. The family released curated footage to the public, hoping for tips. "See something familiar? Call us," Sarah urged in a video statement. But the investigation hit roadblocks. Weather eroded evidence. Animals scattered potential clues. Conspiracy theories proliferated online. Government cover-ups. Extraterrestrial involvement tied to the lights. A documentary crew filmed the searches, interviewing experts who debated the light's origin. Bioluminescent fungi? Ball lightning? Skeptics pointed to Emily's fatigue-inducing hallucinations. The task force dismissed the supernatural, focusing on human elements. They recreated her route using GPS data from the card's EXIF files, simulating her disorientation. She veered off at a washed-out section. A ranger concluded. Excavations unearthed fragments, a torn map, an energy bar wrapper, but no body. Sarah's hope wavered, but the card's contents kept her going. Emily fought. "We owe her this." Months into the renewed probe, a breakthrough emerged from an unlikely source. A hiker in 2025, inspired by the news, revisited the canyon and found Emily's backpack, wedged in a crevice, preserved by overhanging rocks. Inside, her journal, camera, battery dead, and more SD cards. The journal's last entry. "Light is here. They're coming. If found, tell my family I love them." The camera held additional footage, syncing with the hidden card. Analysis revealed that they might refer to poachers. Enhanced audio captured voices. Get her gear. Warrants led to arrests. 3 men linked to illegal hunting rings in the area. Interrogations cracked the case. They had encountered Emily, panicked, and chased her, causing her to fall into a ravine. It was an accident, one confessed, but evidence suggested otherwise, stolen items from her pack. The arrests brought mixed relief. Charges of manslaughter and tampering loomed, trials pending. Sarah confronted the suspects in court, her voice steady. "You took my sister." The SD card became key evidence, its chain of custody ironclad. Emily's story evolved from tragedy to triumph of technology and tenacity. Memorials dotted the trail, plaques honoring her spirit. Sarah hiked the Colorado Trail in her memory, scattering wildflower seeds. She found peace here, Sarah reflected. The card, now in a museum exhibit, stood as a testament. Even in silence, stories endure. The trial of the 3 men accused in Emily Thompson's disappearance gripped the nation, turning a quiet courtroom in Durango, Colorado, into a stage for justice long deferred. It was early 2026, the snow-capped San Juan Mountains visible through the windows as proceedings began. The defendants, brothers Jake and Harlan Reeves, along with their cousin, Dale Mercer, sat stoically, their weathered faces betraying years of hard living in the backcountry. They were charged with manslaughter, evidence tampering, and obstruction, based on confessions extracted after the backpack's discovery. Prosecutors painted a picture of opportunistic criminals, poachers who had set up an illegal hunting camp near Junction Creek, using drones for spotting game and evading rangers. Emily, they argued, had unwittingly stumbled upon their operation in her disoriented state, her camera capturing glimpses of their gear in the background of late videos. She was a witness they couldn't afford, lead prosecutor Elena Vasquez declared in her opening statement, holding up the SD card like a talisman. Sarah Thompson, seated in the front row with her parents, clutched a framed photo of Emily, her eyes locked on the men who had shattered their world. The courtroom buzzed with media, reporters scribbling notes, cameras clicking during breaks, as the story of a vanished hiker evolved into a cautionary epic of wilderness perils and human malice. Evidence mounted methodically, the SD card serving as the prosecution's star witness. Digital forensics experts took the stand, explaining how they recovered overwritten files showing Emily's final hours. One video, played for the jury, depicted the glowing light approaching her campsite, Emily's voice trembling. "Who's there? I see you." Audio analysis isolated engine noises matching the defendant's ATV, registered in Harlan's name. The backpack's contents corroborated, her journal's frantic scrawls about men with lights, missing items like her satellite communicator, later found pawned in a nearby town. Dale, the weakest link, had cracked first during interrogation, admitting they chased her to retrieve her camera, fearing exposure. She fell trying to run, he claimed, but autopsy simulations suggested a push, her injuries consistent with a fatal tumble down the ravine. The defense countered aggressively, portraying the men as simple hunters who panicked. No intent to harm, their attorney argued, cross-examining witnesses to poke holes. Miss Thompson was lost, dehydrated, her perceptions unreliable. But the jury, a mix of locals familiar with trail dangers, seemed unmoved, their faces hardening as Sarah testified. Sarah's testimony was heartrending, a bridge between Emily's vibrant life and her tragic end. She described her sister's passion for hiking, reading excerpts from the journal. Emily wrote, "The mountains make me feel alive. But you took that life." Tears flowed as she played a montage from the SD card, Emily laughing at a waterfall, then her fearful whispers in the dark. The courtroom fell silent, the weight of loss palpable. Expert witnesses followed, a pathologist detailing hypothetical cause of death, head trauma from a fall, exposure hastening it. A drone specialist matched the light's pattern to models the defendants owned. Even Clara, the fellow hiker, testified remotely, recalling her own eerie encounter, suggesting a pattern of intimidation. The defense called character witnesses, neighbors vouching for the men's good hearts, but it rang hollow against the digital evidence. Closing arguments sealed the narrative. Vasquez urged, "This card holds Emily's truth. Don't let her voice be silenced." The jury deliberated for 3 days, the tension electric. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, cheers erupted outside, Sarah collapsing in relief. Sentencing loomed, with life terms possible. In the aftermath, the Thompson family began the slow process of healing, their grief tempered by vindication. Emily's remains, finally located in the ravine after the confessions guided searchers, were laid to rest in a mountain meadow she loved, overlooking the trail. The funeral drew hundreds, hikers, friends, strangers touched by her story. Sarah spoke at the graveside. "Emily taught us to embrace the wild, but also its risks. She lives on in every step we take." The family established the Emily Thompson Foundation, funding hiker safety programs, free satellite devices, trail education, and advocacy for stricter poaching laws. Donations poured in, inspired by documentaries and books chronicling the case. Hidden in her shoe, the SD card that solved a mystery, topped bestseller lists, with proceeds supporting the cause. Sarah quit her corporate job, becoming the foundation's director, leading group hikes where she shared Emily's lessons. "Solo doesn't mean alone," she told participants. "Connect, prepare, survive." The legacy rippled outward, reshaping outdoor culture. The Colorado Trail saw changes, enhanced signage in tricky sections, volunteer patrols in remote areas. Apps integrated AI for real-time tracking, alerting authorities to deviations. Emily's story featured in safety videos, her videos edited into poignant PSAs. "Document your journey. It might save you." True crime enthusiasts debated lingering questions, the exact sequence of events, whether others were involved, but the convictions closed the chapter for most. The Reeves brothers and Mercer received 25 years each, their appeals denied. In prison interviews, they expressed remorse, Harlan muttering, "We didn't mean for it to go that far." But Sarah found no forgiveness, channeling energy into prevention. She hiked the full trail annually, leaving notes at milestones. For Emily, keep going. Years later, as the 2030s dawned, Emily's tale endured as folklore, a blend of triumph and tragedy. Hikers whispered of her ghost in the canyons, a benevolent spirit guiding the lost. Sarah, now with a family of her own, taught her children to hike responsibly, showing them the SD card replicas in a family museum corner. "Your aunt was brave," she said. The wilderness, once a thief of life, became a teacher, Emily's hidden card a symbol of resilience. In quiet moments, Sarah reviewed the footage, hearing Emily's laugh echo through time. The mountains stood eternal, guardians of secrets revealed, and Emily Thompson, though gone, walked forever in the hearts of those who followed her path.